Here now to elaborate and lend more context, the veteran and distinguished CIA officer we met in that report, Milt Bearden. He joins us from our Washington bureau tonight. Thank you for being with us. What's at stake in the way we respond to these attacks, Mr. Bearden?
Dan, I think just about everything is at stake. There is probably no more important action that the United States will take in the last 40 or 50 years than how we handle retribution and retaliation for what happened yesterday in New York and in Washington.
Well, if the president should come to you and ask you, what do you think I should do, what would you tell him?
I'd tell him, first off, steady as she goes. The president has the most complete backing of the American people that I've seen in 40 years of public service. He's got a Congress that is totally behind him. He's not troubled with extraneous problems. He can focus, go steady as she goes, focus on finding out who did this thing yesterday, and then dealing with it in a way that will not bring yet more troubles to us.
Well, it's pretty obvious that the judgment is coalescing around the president that it was Osama bin Laden.
I know we live in a country where we're often told that the first thing that comes to your mind, put it down, put the little mark in there. I feel slightly uncomfortable because I spent so many years wondering how the myth of Osama bin Laden got started. We have the Osama bin Laden who was the great war hero. In Afghanistan, we have Osama bin Laden who was trained by CIA, funded and supported by CIA during 3 years of war. I was there at the same time bin Laden was there. He was not the great warrior that went in and fought the Soviet Union to a standstill. CIA had nothing to do with him. I think that mythological Osama bin Laden, never mind that he's an absolutely evil man, but the mythological Osama bin Laden causes me trouble, and I think maybe there is another answer out there. I'm not certain that I know what it is.
Well, Milt Bearden, again, you're one of our most experienced people with long experience in Afghanistan. What does your gut tell you about who's responsible for these attacks this week?
My gut tells me we don't know the answer yet. My gut tells me that I'm not going to go with the first answer that comes to mind, but there's quite possibly something else out there. Experts will jump on you and say it's Osama bin Laden's M.O. He's the only one that is capable of this type of coordinated attack. My answer to them is he's the only one you know that's capable of this kind of attack. This was a tremendously sophisticated operation against the United States. More sophisticated than anybody would ever have ascribed to Osama bin Laden. I think we need to do a little homework. We need to appoint a team B that looks for somebody else. I'm just not convinced it was bin Laden.
You're doubtful. I want to come back to that. If you can ride with me just a moment, Milt Bearden.
Sure.
Dateline New York City, hundreds of people are now reported fleeing the area around the Empire State Building here in New York City. It's apparently in the wake of a bomb threat. Emergency officials are evacuating a 4 to 5 block area around that landmark, the Empire State Building. Now, things look calm from this viewpoint, and for that matter, on the street, things seem to be reasonably calm, but we'll pass that along to you. We'll be monitoring that situation, viewers, as we go along. Let me return now to our interview with Milt Bearden. There's no question in my mind that you're skeptical that Osama bin Laden, aided and abetted, or at least protected by the Taliban, should be the principal target of some large military operation. If I'm wrong about that, tell me now.
No, you're not wrong, Dan. I'm saying is, let me step back one step on this and say Osama bin Laden is an evil man, and he's a component of the terrorism that we're dealing with across the board. All I'm saying is that I think Osama bin Laden has become the metaphor for the entire problem of terrorism involving Muslims with perceived grievances against the United States. And I think it would be wrong to say this is a one-size-fits-all operation and to go after bin Laden, because an operation as sophisticated as carried out yesterday was an operation that was concealed from us for months, probably, before it took place. It happened without essentially a hitch except for one aircraft. And there is no reason to believe that these same people weren't capable of covering their tracks somehow on the way out. Now, I would go so far as to say that this group who was responsible for that, if they didn't have an Osama bin Laden out there, they'd invent one, because he's a terrific diversion for the rest of the world. Could I be wrong? Of course I could be wrong. It could be Osama bin Laden. If that's the case, it's an easy solution for the president.